Time is exactly 2 o'clock. We resume our hearing. I recognize Advocate Misuse. I think that Ms. Motsitsi is also back. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Ms. Motsitsi, before the lunch break, we stopped where you said that at the time you devised the new strategy in November 2017 about outreach, you had not been aware of the financial constraints that the PPSA was facing at the time, and that you became aware of them when you became the acting CEO in about December 2017, correct?
Correct.
Right. And we were about to go into those financial constraints in some detail with reference to the then acting Chief Financial Officer's memo dated the 7th of February. It's on page 4228 NM1. Please go there, Tsepo. Yeah. Is that document routing form, is it for that memo by Mr. Menzelwa? Right.
Yes.
Can you go to 4230, Tsepo? I'd like you to go to 4230 under discussion. Is that the memo? This is something else. Yes, this is NM1.
Chairperson, my hand is up.
Okay, whilst we're looking for the right memo, I acknowledge you, Advocate Mpofu.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Now, I just wanted to know if are we still in the freewheeling and improvisation mode of this morning, or is there a time frame this time? Or is it when they are happy to stop, they'll stop? Just for our own planning, Chair. Are we still on that freewheeling mode?
Just before I recognize Advocate Misuse, we are never at a freewheeling mode, so that will be the language you use. Advocate Misuse?
What's the time frame? Chairperson?
Yes, I'm coming.
Oh, I thought you were... Okay, sorry, Chair.
Thank you.
Chair, I estimate I need 3 hours with this witness, which I estimate will end at 4:30, having started at about 12:30. But I'm going to try to fit it in before that.
Okay, we'll watch that. Thank you, Advocate Mpofu. Proceed, Advocate Misuse.
Thank you, Chair. Are you on page 4230? Yes, under discussion in the memo. Can you read for the record, please, Ms. Motsitsi, paragraph 3.1 in that memo?
Under discussion, the PPSA was allocated 301 million for the 2017-18 financial year, of which 217 million, 72% is allocated to employee costs. As of 31 January 2018, the total overspending on employees was 9.143,914 million. The overspending on employee costs was mainly due to the implementation of the OSD, notch progression and merit bonuses for the prior 2 financial years.
Thanks. He goes on to explain the ACFO in 3.2 that the total cost of employment had grown by 60% since the 2014-15 financial year, whereas the average budget growth allocated to the PPSA had been less than 10% in the same period. He also said that there has therefore been a mismatch, a continued mismatch in terms of the budget allocated to PPSA and its core activities. Can you turn over the page to 4321 and read? There's another paragraph which is also numbered 3.2. Can you also read the 3.2 at the top?
In addition, legal costs have spiraled out of control with a resultant recurrent overspending of 30,345, not 52 million. This is in response to cases that have been taken on review and cases relating to labor disputes, which were settled during the course of the current financial year.
3.3 as well, please, Ms. Motsitsi.
Information and communication technology, ICT, capital projects to the value of 10,325,123 million were completed during the current financial year. This related to the purchase of 225 desktop computers, 109 laptop computers, and new server equipment.
And then that's the ACFO then continued to say that as a result of this overspending, other key capital planned projects could not be carried out. Instead, the institution had exhausted its current budget and had overspent on the allocation for the current financial year. You see that in paragraph 3.4?
I see that.
And then he at 3.5, he says it's currently unable to meet all financial obligations, and an amount of 14 million is immediately required to settle all liabilities due to external parties by the end of the current financial year.
Yes.
You see that?
Yes.
On the next page, 4232, Tsepo, in paragraph 5.1, the ACFO then referred to the fact that senior management under your leadership at the time had met twice to discuss the budget constraints, right?
Correct.
And the two meetings he's referring to, are those the meetings that he describes in paragraph 5.2 and 5.3, correct?
Yes. Correct.
The acting CFO at the time, you do say in your affidavit, addressed a further memo on the 22nd of February 2018, this time to the National Treasury, correct?
Correct.
This memo is at NM2, page 4237, Tsepo. Is that the document routing form for the memo that we're talking about?
Yes.
Go to 4238, the body of the memo. Can you read for the record what the purpose of this memo is at paragraph 1.1, please?
To give the National Treasury a confirmation that the bank overdraft of 50 million pound Protector South Africa has request authority to incur will be settled within 30 days of incurring it. There was an annexure, and to provide National Treasury with information on how the PPSA will save funds through cutting some costs so as to fund the settling of the overdraft.
Thanks. Over the page 4239, Tsepo. At paragraph 3 over the page, the acting CFO then set out measures to be implemented to curb the expenditure. At 3.1, he said that includes the suspension of procurement of the procurement plan for the 2017-18 financial year.
Yes.
You read from 3.2 onwards, please, Ms. Motsitsi.
Suspension of all travel, including outreach clinics. The only travel that is allowed is for key and strategic trips and only on a special motivation basis. Freezing all recruitment save for the CEO and CFO posts, as these have been identified as key and critical. Non-renewal of employment contracts and cancellation of all overtime.
Thank you. So the financial, we see from this that the financial constraints that the PPSA was experiencing at the time had a direct impact on its outreach program, correct?
Correct.
At 4240 on the same memo, the ACFO in paragraph 5 then talks, he says that the overdraft will be settled by means of the funds allocated to the PPSA for the 18-19 financial year. And then he goes on in paragraph 6 to make recommendations to National Treasury that they, at 6.1, take into account the cost containment program and measures, and that National Treasury authorizes the PPSA to incur the overdraft amount of 15 million. You recall all of this in your capacity as ACFO, as CEO, correct?
Yes, correct.
Let's go back to the affidavit, Tsepo, at page 4194. Paragraph 32. Yeah. So can you tell the committee then about the targets and actual achievements in the PPSA's new strategy, given these financial constraints that we've just talked about?
Yes, the targets for outreach clinics were in line with the district model, as illustrated in the previous paragraphs. So for 2018-2019, the targets were reduced to 207 outreach clinics, looking at the district per province and metros per province. And the target was overachieved because they were supposed to conduct 207 outreach clinics. But comparing with the 2017-2018, the number of people that were seen by outreach officers was just dramatically decreased. It decreased from 21,599 to 10,072. And then the next financial year, we still had the same target of 207 outreach clinics, and they decreased to 7,665.
And then, of course, in 2020, 2021, COVID happened, right?
Yes, indeed.
And what impact did that have on outreach?
Due to restrictions, outreach officers could not go out, could not conduct outreach clinics, could not have face-to-face meetings with complainants or communities. So that's when we started with we always had the radio interviews, radio slots, but we started with webinars, and then we moved to simulcast transmissions where we engaged with communities. Communities would phone in. It's a live transmission. They would phone in, ask questions directly to the public protector and deputy public protector and the panel members that we have invited.
All right. So you move on then in your affidavit, and you talk about your stint as the acting CEO. You were asked after Mr. Themba Dlamini, who was the then CEO, after he left you, the PP asked you to act in that position, correct?
Correct.
And you acted for about 3 months from December 2017 until March 2018, right?
Correct.
You say you accepted the request on condition that you wouldn't receive an acting allowance because you regarded it as an opportunity to learn, right?
Correct.
And you also knew that you were just holding the fort for a CEO that was going to be appointed soon, correct?
Correct.
You refer in paragraph 39 to some of the stresses you found in that position. Starting in 39.1, you refer to just what we've been talking about, the financial position that you discovered when you took over the acting position of CEO, right?
Correct.
And you found this stressful because you now realize that there was the prospect that the PPSA wouldn't be able to pay salaries as from February 2018, and staff livelihoods would be jeopardized, correct?
Correct.
The second issue, which you given as an example of a stressor in the workplace, is the issue relating to Ms. Cleo Mosana, which you discuss in fuller detail below in your affidavit. And you say that this issue stressed you because of an expectation that millions of rands could be spent to remove her from the office when the office was already facing a dire financial situation, right?
Correct.
Now, as I've said, you've addressed Ms. Musana's issue later on in your affidavit, but perhaps this is an opportune time for us to go there so that we get it out of the way because it's come up now. It's mentioned in paragraph 122, Tsepo, paragraph 122, page 4221. Right. So under the heading dispute regarding Ms. Cleopatra Mosana, the dispute happened in January 2018 when you were the acting CEO, right?
Correct.
Can you tell the committee how you found out about the dispute and what your role was as a CEO in managing the matter?
On that particular day, I can't remember the exact date. I took 1 day leave, but there was a meeting. As I said, budget was a critical issue. So we are going to have a budget meeting with the CFO and other managers. So I came to the office at about 11, and when I got there, I was invited to the Public Protector's office, and there was the acting chief of staff and legal services senior manager, legal services, and senior manager HR. And they informed me informally while I was at the foyer that something has happened. There was a conflict between the public protector and the spokesperson, Ms. Musana. And now they are in the process of engaging her, negotiating a separation agreement with her. And by the time that I got there, I understand that they had offered her R1 million so that they can part ways. She rejected that offer of R1 million, and they offered her R3 million. She also rejected that offer, and they are now offering, trying to negotiate a further amount. And on further questioning, I understand that she wanted the term of a contract because she was left with about, I think, plus five years contract in her, plus 5 years contract term in her contract. And looking at the amount that were being proposed from 1 million to 3 million to whatever five-year term would be, it was completely unaffordable for public protector to pay any settlement. And when I went into the public protector's office just to understand what could be the issue, yes, I can't remember whether public protector did mention what happened, but I was at the stage where they were negotiating. She informed me that they have to part ways. Their relationship has broken down irretrievably, and legal services and HR are negotiating with her to part ways. And But
you say that you had a different view as to how to deal with the matter, and this you say in paragraph 125 of your affidavit, right?
Most definitely.
You rather than paying out such a large amount of money, you were pursuing other options that you regarded as viable to resolve the issue, right?
Most definitely, yes.
Yes, and one of these included placing Ms. Musana in another position within the organization, correct?
Yes, yes.
Can you tell the committee how that was received by either the PP and Ms. Musana, and how the matter was finally resolved, if at all?
Well, in my motivation, I mentioned that Ms. Musana's budget as a spokesperson was already allocated by National Treasury, but it will be paid over a period of 5 years. It was not brought to us in a lump sum, which we can give her. And besides, if she goes, we have to appoint another spokesperson. That would be like double dipping. So I propose that I can come up with other ways just to make sure that we accommodate her into another structure, because the breakdown from my understanding was between the public protector as an individual and Ms. Musana. So not between Ms. Musana and public protector as an institution. So I said I can come up with a proposal, a written proposal, which will be considered by the public protector and approved. And because I already had a senior manager, chief investigator within CSM, and we are both attorneys, I requested that because investigations are suffering when it comes to capacity, we can move Ms. Ekele to investigations and Ms. Musana can occupy that post. So I was working around the posts that were already funded. And she allowed me to make a formal submission, which she, of course, she approved.
Did you get buy-in from Ms. Musana herself regarding this proposal?
No, I didn't get an opportunity to engage Ms. Musana because when I was doing that submission, she was not in the office. So I wanted the proposal to be approved first before I can engage her.
And you do say that it was approved?
It was approved. Yes.
Right. Can you just elaborate? You said that on the date of the consultation, you were going to have an engagement with Ms. Musana because you were of the view that you needed to consult and engage with her and explain the financial status of the office and the reasons for the alternative proposal.
Yes,
right?
Yes, I wanted her to understand how I came about the decision of removing her from a private office to a core function, and the fact that we don't have a budget and we're going to engage her, hear her side of the story, and give her a letter with a written offer to go and consider and come back with a response.
And what happened on the date of the consultation with her?
Yes, Senior Manager HR invited Ms. Musana, and she pitched up on that day. And I was sitting with the Senior Manager HR, and we're still exchanging pleasantries. And I got a call from the public protector, and then I had to leave the meeting. And that's when she told me that she hears that there's Ms. Musana is in my office. What is she doing in my office? I explained that I'm consulting with her regarding what I have proposed, and to get her views, and just to explain why we got to the stage where we feel that it would be better for her to move from the private office into core function. Unfortunately, I didn't get that chance.
Why didn't you get that chance?
Unfortunately, Public Protector told me that there is a letter that you must give Ms. Nsana. Give it to her. She must go and consider that offer at home, and then she will respond after reading the letter from home.
All right. So you say in paragraph 129 then, as a result of that, Ms. Musana was transferred to the position, to your branch, CSM, without consultation, and she continued to earn the same salary. She took the PPSA to the CCMA, correct?
Correct.
And can you just tell the committee what happened and how the matter finally ended involving Ms. Musana?
Yes, the issue of CCMA, that was what I proposed on the day when they were negotiating to give her an offer. I said I don't have any basis to sign any offer to Ms. Musana, but if she can refer this matter to CCMA, we will get an order or direction from CCMA, and then we can pay her out whatever settlement if we are in the wrong. But if we are not in the wrong, obviously we don't have to pay anything. So she sent the matter, she referred the matter to CCMA. I was one of the witnesses to explain the position that I took, and the HR manager was also the witness, and Ms. Musana won the case. The decision was in her favor.
You say she was awarded 520,000.
Yes, 520,000.
Right. She then came back into the office, you say, and she ultimately then resigned from her position, correct?
She resigned from the position, yes.
Right. And at what stage are the issues between Musana and the PPSA now? Do you know?
Remember the offer by CCMA was that she will get this 520 and then continue as senior manager CSM, and that's what she told me, that she has won her case and now she's ready to work at CSM. Unfortunately, she heard that PPSA was going to apply for review of the determination by the CCMA, and she gave a 24-hour resignation. And unfortunately, I was not around. I was outside the province then, on roadshow or somewhere, but I was not in the office. And then on the 2nd or 3rd of May, she came to see me to inform me that she has submitted a 24-hour resignation to HR, and she's leaving. And I couldn't just let her go like that, because now we have a new COO, Ms. Basani Baloi. I asked her to go. I took her to Ms. Basani Baloi to go and inform her about her resignation. So she's no longer with Public Protector South Africa.
All right. So can we go back to page 4197? Thanks. 39.3. So we still are just going through some of the issues that you found stressful. The third issue that you mentioned is an issue around the fact that there were no adequate governance structures within the organization where you was the acting.
Sorry, Advocate, is
On page 4197 of
Yes.
39.3, we've gone back to, yeah.
Yes.
One of the issues you found stressful was the fact that you had no governance structure where you as the acting CEO could sit and strategize with executive managers, correct?
Correct.
And moving along, as a CEO, acting CEO, you were responsible for administrative affairs, right?
Yes.
But you also had a responsibility to play a role in the institution's investigation work.
Yes, I was.
And bearing in mind that there was a backlog, correct?
Correct.
How did you fit in all of these responsibilities?
As I mentioned, there were no governance structures. You know that without an EXCO, because the EXCO that existed was chaired by the public protector. And I needed an EXCO that is chaired by the CEO as the accounting officer, where we can sit and talk about update, review policies, and to establish other governance structures, which they had become ineffective. Some of them were non-existent, like the budget committee. I would work on administration during the day, and then there were several meetings that were held by public protector. I would attend those meetings. And then all the reports would be coming to me from the executive managers. And once everybody has left from 5 until 10 in the evening, I would be looking at the reports that are submitted either for a release or for PP's signature to be issued.
Are these what you refer to in paragraph 39.4 as the extremely late working hours and weekend work, which became a norm for you? Trying to discharge these functions.
Yes.
Right. So you, in 39.5, you say you felt that there was no real space for a CEO to function as she should. Do I take it that the role of CEO or acting CEO was not what you had expected then?
It was not what I expected because, as I mentioned, when I started, I started by looking at the strategy and the annual plan and the budget resources, whether we can afford the next 4 months. Governance structures were not there, which you can sit and advise me. So I realized that this is not how things would go because from day one, I started putting out fires, making sure that now we are going to apply for an overdraft, which was the first for me to hear that a government institution can be allowed an overdraft. I had to start with policies, making sure that we have those structures, establishing an EXCO where I can sit and then make decisions with other senior managers within the institution to plan for the institution. And then there were other issues then which came about the audi letters.
Yes, we'll deal with that later. You do deal with that in your affidavit. You say you brought
Just pause.
Yeah.
I see a hand. Advocate Buff.
Chairperson. Oh, sorry. I don't know what's wrong. Sorry, Chair. No, thank you, Chairperson. We please can you allow us just a 5-10 minute break? We need. Sorry, someone has just walked into our room here, and we just need to have a quick consultation. We've just received a judgment from the Western Cape High Court that the suspension of the public protector has been set aside. So we just wanted to deal with that logistically for a few minutes, 5 or 10 minutes, Chair, so that we will come back because it's just going to disturb us. We won't be able to pay attention. 10 minutes.
I'll take a 5-minute break.
Thank you, Chair.
That's fine.
Thank you.
There's really nothing.
Recording stopped.
Yossi, And with Ms. Motsitsi, are you there? Go ahead, Advocate Mayos.
Ms. Motsitsi?
Yes, I'm back.
Thank
Can
you.
I get my spectacles? Yeah, in the kitchen, sorry.
Yeah, no, get your spectacles, that's fine. Over to you, Advocate Moyosi. She's back.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Motsitsi, you were, I think you had just finished explaining the reasons why you found the acting CEO position not what you had expected. You
Yes.
say that you did bring your concerns to the attention of the PP, but no heed was paid to your concerns, correct?
Correct.
You then went on leave in about March 2018 to look after your health. And when you came back in May 2018, you asked to be relieved of your acting responsibilities, correct?
Correct.
You then move on to talk about your stint as the acting COO. And you say again, sometime in the middle of 2018, the PP asked you again to act as the COO, correct?
Correct.
And again, you agreed and you made it a condition that you not receive an acting allowance, right?
Correct.
This time, your reasons were because you knew by then that the PPSA was in financial difficulties and also that the COO position needed to be funded before it could be filled, right?
Correct.
And you summarize really in paragraph 43 what you considered to be the role that the COO, acting COO, was supposed to play, and that was a key role in managing the production of reports arising from investigations, right?
Correct.
Now, in this section of your affidavit, you deal with three things: rushed reports, audi letters, and time constraints. So let's start with the issue of the rushed reports, which you start dealing with at paragraph 44.
Yes.
So you say in paragraph 44 that the focus at the time in the PPSA was to bring investigations to an end and to ensure that reports were issued speedily, correct?
Right.
But then as you go on, this meant less time was available to actually interrogate the complaints received according to policies, laws, and procedures, right?
Correct.
And then you refer to the management meetings that you attended, where the focus was on what product will be delivered and by when, rather than, again, analyzing the substance of the complaints, right?
Correct.
Now, in that paragraph, you also talk about the inordinate amount of time that you spent in these meetings, chasing and accounting on deadlines when time could and should have been spent on improving reports, right?
Correct. Correct.
So my question to you: this new focus on at management meetings on what product will be delivered and when, and chasing deadlines, and this inordinate amount of time spent at meetings, what impact did this have? Did these factors have on the manner in which reports were produced?
Yeah, it compromised the quality of reports. Investigators were working under pressure, EMs were working under pressure, and as acting COO, I was also under pressure because I would get the reports on the date when the report is due to the public protector. So you always get reports that of low quality, you can say.
Right. So you mention in paragraph 46 the PEU report as one of these the reports that were produced in this manner, right?
Correct.
This is the report for which Ms. Puna Mokhaladi was the executive manager, correct?
Correct.
He has given some evidence on this report and her own view and experience of this matter. So we'll focus for the moment on your views and how you experienced it. You refer in paragraph 47 to the fact that on the 6th of November, Ms. Mokhaladi, submitted to you a draft section 7.9 that she told you in the covering email that she was not really happy with, and that she was still working on it, correct?
Correct.
You then say that that the PP was insistent that this notice be provided to her. So you suggested to Mr. Mokhaladi that she include the draft watermark on her section 7.9 to indicate that it was a work in progress, essentially, right?
Yes.
But the PP was not happy with this, you say?
She was not happy at all.
Now, as I say, Ms. Mokhaladi has already given evidence on this score to the committee, and in her evidence, she put up the letter which you yourself have put up as Annexure NM4.
Yes.
Annexure NM4 is on page 5242.
42.
Yes, go down. Page 52. Yes. Yes, it's an email trail. So it begins there. So in her evidence, she did in fact put up this letter, this email to the PP, and it's one of the emails that you yourself have put up in Annexure NM4. Do you see that?
Yes.
This is the email where she was explaining her pressures, her challenges in the investigation to the public protector. These included the volume of files, the volume of evidence. She had 40 liver arch files, correct?
Correct.
She also had affidavits in the court proceedings to look at, because there were matters that the PPSA was investigating, which were also being litigated in court, right?
Yes.
This is the email where Ms. Mokhaladi said that she'd been hardly getting any sleep in trying to progress the matter, right?
Yes.
So the PP didn't give Ms. Mokhaladi the extension that she requested to go up?
No, the extension was not granted.
And she in fact demanded the drafts, the section 7.9 by the end of business that same day, right?
Correct.
You do say in paragraph 51 that what then resulted was the PP instructed Mr. Mahlangu to serve final written warnings to both to you and Ms. Mokhaladi, correct?
Correct.
Now, again, I'm going to jump in the affidavit just so that the chronology and the story follows. You do deal with Mr. Mahlangu's response to the PP's instruction on page 4203.
4203.
Yes, paragraph 60, 61, and 62.
4203.
Paragraph 60.
Paragraph 60. Yes.
You say that on the 20th of November, Mr. Mahlangu complied with the PP's instructions and issued you with an Audi letter. Do you see that?
Yes.
Is this the Audi letter that followed the PP's instruction that you referred to just now in paragraph 51 in relation to the PEU matter?
The audi letter is NM6.
NM6 4259.
4259.
Yes.
Yes, that's the one.
This is Mr. Bashango's audi letter to you, where he tells you that the PP gave an instruction to Ms. Mokhaladi to submit the PEU section 7.9. Her instruction was not adhered to. As Ms. Mokhaladi's supervisor, you are supposed to ensure that the section 7.9 is submitted to the PP. He says you accepted Ms. Mokhaladi's explanation despite the fact that you were aware of the PP's deadline, where she explicitly indicated that no extension would be granted. And he then said you required to give reasons to him no later than Friday the 23rd, why you didn't ensure that as her supervisor, the PP's instruction was adhered to. And your response to this letter will determine further actions. You see that?
Yes.
Your response, you say you responded to this. First of all, before we go to the response, what did you make of this audi letter?
I did, and when I was asked to get to issue an audi to Ms. Mokhaladi, to me, it means that I must hear her side of the story regarding a failure to submit the bill.
Sorry, you keep disappearing a bit, Ms.
Sorry. Yes, when I received instruction to issue Ms. Mokhaladi with an audi letter, I saw that I perceived that I am, from my side as a manager, it means I'm not giving her an opportunity to explain what is preventing her from submitting the report. So I wanted that explanation because, like, hear the other side. Audi alteram partem, it says, hear the other side. So I sent her the notice for her to give me an explanation. And she provided me with an explanation which made sense and was reasonable, and I accepted that reasoning. So unfortunately, I was issued with an audi for accepting her explanation.
And you say in paragraph 61 that the fact that you were issued with an audi for listening to an employee's views, this was tantamount to victimization for you, correct?
Most definitely, yes.
So let's go to your response to Mr. Mahlangu's audi. It's on page 4260, NM7, Sepo. Is that your response?
Yes.
The substance of your response appears in paragraph add paragraph 2. Can you read 2.1 and 2.2 for the record, please?
Okay. At the time the explanation was provided by Ms. Mokhaladi, the section 7.9 notice was incomplete and not ready for submission to the public protector for approval. Had I accepted and submitted the draft section 7.9 notice to the public protector in its state, it would have been tantamount to dereliction of duty, and I may have been required to provide an explanation for submission of an incomplete, improper, and or misleading notice for public protector's approval. So in essence, what I was saying is that if I don't issue that audi, I will get an audi. If I give an audi and accept reasons, I'm also getting an audi.
Right.
And if the report is it's incomplete or not properly quality assured, I will also get an audi.
Okay. Go back to the affidavit, Tsepo, page 4201, paragraph 52.
4201.
Yes, we're back to the affidavit. We've left the annexure. So So you say in paragraph 52, you then pleaded with Ms. Mokhaladi to urgently submit the section 7.9, right?
Yes.
And that one of the steps that she needed to take at the time was that she did indeed consult with Mr. Namasisi, doing so as late or as early as 3:30 in the morning when she was working on the investigation, correct?
Correct.
So you then engaged in correspondence between you and Ms. Mokhaladi about the matter, and these are the emails that are printed out and reflected in paragraph 54 and 55, correct?
Correct.
So you supported Ms. Mokhaladi in that she needed more time in the investigations for the reasons that she gave you, correct?
Correct.
And you had suggested that she should provide a memo to the PP explaining these issues to her and why she wasn't submitting the 7.9, right?
Yes. Yes.
And then Ms. Mokhaladi again wrote to you the email that appears at paragraph 54 above, expressing her frustration and stating briefly referring to the factors that are attributed to the delay, and that she didn't mean to be disrespectful of the executive authority, correct?
Yes, she expressly said she didn't want to comply maliciously in submitting a report which was not properly done.
In your response to her, which appears at paragraph 55, in the second paragraph of your response, the third to last sentence, you told her, I cannot compel you to issue an incorrect, unlawful notice. PPSA must issue factually correct notices and reports that are of high quality, but my failing to push for issuance of notices, reports has resulted in me getting warnings. I am between a rock and a hard place, unfortunately, Puna. What did you mean when you said you're between a rock and a hard place?
If I don't push for her to submit the Section 7.9 notice for PEO, I already by that time I already received the email from PP that we should be issued with warnings. And if we submit a factually incorrect report, and if I accept her reasons, her explanation, reasonable as it was, I was also going to be issued with an audi.
Right. And you say despite a genuine commitment to ensuring a thorough investigation, the PP was not interested in considering investigation-related justifications for delays in investigations. This you say in paragraph 57, correct?
Correct.
How was the matter finally resolved, the matter of the Section 7.9 in the PEO matter? Do you know when it was ultimately submitted?
It was submitted, but it was a pleasure report, but she eventually submitted that report for PP's approval.
All right. The next section of your affidavit, you deal with the issue of audi letters.
Yes.
Now the audi letters, the issuing of audi letters, the purpose of audi letters, and how the recipients of audi letters view them. This has come up a lot in these proceedings thus far.
Yes.
So my question to you, just up front, do you agree with the principle that people in general and employees in particular are entitled to be given a right to be heard?
Yes, I agree.
So are audi letters in and of themselves per se a problem?
No audi letter, like I said, audi alteram partem. Listen to the other side. They are a noble concept and they are a useful tool, but a manager can issue to understand the circumstances of the employee who is not performing.
Is this the way in which audi letters were used and at the PPSA?
No. throughout my acting stints and as EM currently, an audi to me means listen to the other side. However, within PPSA, audi means now I'm starting a disciplinary process against you for failing to comply with an instruction. And obviously, where I had listened to employees giving their explanation, I ended up with an audi for listening and understanding and accepting their explanation. So that's not how they are used. Audi letters are used to gather information so that it will lead to a warning, and that audi letter might be used in future in case there is another transgression.
Right. So you say that the invocation by the PP and Mr. Mahlangu of audi letters, and this you say in paragraph 65, and the issuing of instructions by the PP in meetings that these letters must be issued. This contributed to the hostile and toxic working environment in the PPSA, correct?
Correct.
Is this what you meant when you described earlier in your affidavit in paragraph 38, the environment as being an oppressive environment?
Yes.
So you proceed to then give examples of what you perceive as the PP and Mr. Mahlangu's misconceptions of the role of audi letters. And the first example you make is an audi letter, something that relates to Ms. Sikele. Can you just briefly, please, Ms. Motsitsi, explain what that dispute, for want of a better word, was about, what the issue with Ms. Sikele was about?
In March 2018, I think I was still acting as CEO by then. Ms. Sikele was reporting to Advocate Stoffel-Fourie. She was supposed to send out a letter to the city of Tshwane. And then unfortunately, she forgot to do that. And this matter was reported in one of the newspapers. And when an explanation was sought from her, she mentioned that she had forgotten to issue that letter. In fact, she said the administrative assistant had forgotten to post the letter to the city of Tshwane. Now, coming in May 2018, now I'm occupying another position as the Chief Operations Officer. I am told that I must issue an audi letter against Ms. Sikele. And in the email, I'm told that a warning was already issued against Ms. Sikele regarding the very same matter. Yes, so that's how it got to a stage where I was instructed to deal with the matter.
Did you issue an audi letter to Ms. Sikele?
No.
Why did you not?
As I said, when the alleged transgression happened, she was reporting to Advocate Stoffel-Fourie. And from the email that I received, I read that she was already issued with a warning. I believe that as a manager, it is a prerogative of a manager to issue audi letters to people who report to him or her. And in this case, Lesedi was not reporting to me in March when this transgression happened. And now I'm acting COO. I don't know the background of this case. I don't know why she was issued with a warning. I don't know whether she was issued with an audit before a warning was issued to her. I don't know what explanation she provided. So it just didn't make sense to me to issue an audit for a matter that I'm not clued up on, and not having heard this officer, the senior manager, the chief investigator, regarding the reasons that prevented her from sending the letter.
Okay. In paragraph 66.5, you mention an instruction on the 4th of June 2018 from Mr. Mahlangu to the senior manager HR to issue warnings to a number of employees. And you mentioned this as one of the examples of what you describe as the misconception by the PP and Mr. Mahlangu of the role of audi letters. And that is the letter that you have attached, in which you refer to as 66.7 as NM9 4266. Tabo, go there, please.
4266.
4266, yeah, NM9. Just go down, Tabo. Yeah. Is this the instruction of the 4th of June from Mr. Mahlangu to Mr. Kelela that you're referring to in paragraph 66.5?
Yes.
So Mr. Mahlangu is instructing that warning letters be issued to 1, 2, 3, 4, more or less 5 employees listed in that email, correct?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 7.
Yes. So he wasn't instructing HR to give them audi letters or an opportunity to explain themselves, right?
No, she was saying.
He was instructing that they already be given warning letters, right?
Right.
Go to the next letter in the trail up. Yes. Go up. All right. So Mr. Gumbi Kelela then responded to Mr. Mahlangu, and he told him the affected employees must first be given audi letters by their line managers where they are required to explain their alleged transgressions. It's after their responses that a decision to issue them with warnings will be taken. I will ask line managers to issue those audi letters on the issue of LCB. Advocate Tipanyane has completed the interviews, and I will follow up with him on when we can expect the report, right? And you were copied on that in that response, right?
Yes.
But you also responded yourself, 4265.
Okay, yes, I responded.
Yes, and briefly, please summarize your response to Mr. Kelela, copied Mr. Mahlangu.
Yes. Firstly, Mr. Mahlangu was 1 month into the post, into the job, and as CEO. He comes in, he's new, and he already sends out emails that warnings should be issued to those 7 individuals. Firstly, Mr. Kelela is saying no, audi letters should be issued to those individuals before warnings can be issued to. Obviously, they'll be found guilty for whatever transgression, and that made me to try and request Mr. Gumbi Kelela to tell him that can you please not go through this same understanding of what audi is. Can you please advise Mr. Mahlangu accordingly? He is a CEO. He has to know that you must give a person an audi, and it's the direct line manager who has to issue an audi, and they must have reasons, and they must make a finding. So I explained some of the cases because I knew about some of the cases. I said case number 4, 5, and 6, they are not starting from de novo. If you look at the case of Mr. I think it was case number 4, 5, and 6. Let me look at them. Case number 4, the case of Mr. Ndo had already started, and I think the chairperson for the disciplinary hearing was already appointed. 5, I heard that there were disciplinary steps that were being taken, and then case 6, there was a mediation process which I had already started. And now, if you're going to issue a warning and you continue with the processes that started, that will be double jeopardy to these people. So I said they are not starting de novo. These matters are already ongoing. And I referred to case number 6, that that is, I need HR to sensitize the CEO of the sensitivity of some of these issues. And then I think, yeah, I explained all that regarding all these cases to Mr. Kelele.
Yes.
What I was trying to emphasize is the line manager is the one who has to take a decision that this person has done 1, 2, 3, and I want to issue an audi. It shouldn't be a directive from upstairs to a line manager that issue an audi letter. I just wanted to correct that the understanding of the use of audi within the institution.
Yes. Mr. Kelela then later gave you an instruction that you have to issue an audi to Ms. Sekele, correct?
Correct.
But your evidence is you didn't do so, and you've already given reasons why you didn't do so, right?
I couldn't, yes.
So it seems that the role of acting CEO, and you allude to this in paragraph, go back to the affidavit 4206, paragraph 67.
Yes.
Yeah. It seems from what you say here that the role of acting CEO wasn't what you expected either, right?
Yes, it was not.
You felt that you were required to be more of a whip. Can you elaborate a bit on what you mean by that?
You have to demand investigators to submit their reports. And if they don't submit, you have to issue an audi. You have to demand that they comply with the deadlines that they have set for themselves or that were set in either of the meetings, be it a task register meeting or dashboard. So if they didn't comply with the deadline, then you have to issue an audi. So it felt like I'm more of a whip than a person who can sit and guide investigators in their investigations.
Thank you. So the third issue you've dealt with in this section is the issue about time constraints, and how you frame that at the beginning is that in as much as investigators were supposed to do research and make their findings, you believed that as the acting CEO, you still had to consult and confirm the research that was done and give inputs to that process, right?
Right.
But you say that in practice, this wasn't possible to do as the acting COO, correct?
Correct. It was not.
And
it was not.
And in paragraph 68, you mentioned as some of the factors that made it not possible for you to do, the fact that there were just too many reports, there was not sufficient time, reports would be given to you on the day when they were meant to be given to the PP or on the day of media briefings, correct?
Correct.
And you then mention instances where you were unsatisfied with reports given to you by managers and you had them returned, right?
Right.
NM10 4268, Sabo. Thank you. Yes. This is the annexure that you've put up as an example of what you say is an instance when you returned a report. This was a report, it was on its way to the PP from Mr. Ndo.
Yes.
Is that your handwriting there?
Yes, that's my handwriting.
Why were you not satisfied with the report?
Firstly, you start with the format of the report. It was not well formatted, and the report was given to me. It was due to the Pulp Projector on the 14th of August. It was given to me on the 14th of August. And I think there was an interview that PP had to attend regarding the same report. But as I said, you don't get enough time to go through these reports and give your inputs and then submit to the Pulp Protector. So I was not happy with a whole lot of things that I cannot really quality assure this report. If I wanted more information, already the report is due to the Pulp Protector and it's delivered in a memo like this. And there are other issues that I wanted to raise. but the report was already late.
The second example you give is NM11 at 4272.
Yes.
And this you say was a report from Ms. Sekele. You returned
Yes.
it to her. Is that the report?
Yes.
And why were you unhappy with this one?
Firstly, again, you look at the formatting. You start with the formatting, and then you go to the content of the report. The issue of proofreading is always there. You go to the report, and she refers to issues like, I think in paragraph 2.9, she's talking about that a letter was sent to the Director General of Energy requesting further information in connection with the alleged irregular awarding. I don't have the file. I can't confirm. And then you want to see the file for yourself. That's how I do my verification quality assurance. I want to see the file. I want to see the complaint. And she also said this investigation is at an advanced stage. But I don't know what is the definition of an advanced stage. I can't confirm for myself. I just have this report. So I made my comments. So I had to take it back to her. And I wanted to engage with the entire file so that I can understand what were the issues and what is the remedial, how does the remedial action connect to the complaint and the issues and the findings.
And so you had the report returned to Ms. Sekele?
Yes.
Go back to the affidavit on page 4207, paragraph 70. 4207, yeah? Great. Are you there, Ms. Motsitsi? We're back in the affidavit now, 4207. And you say that over time, you then required reports to be submitted to you a week or two before they were to be submitted to the PP, just to give you sufficient time to engage in a genuine quality assurance function, right?
As I wanted to, yes.
Did this help?
They were never submitted on a week or two before submission to the public protector. They were submitted on the very day that the report was due to the public protector. So you end up working late nights quality assuring the reports.
Yeah. So you eventually then asked to step down from the position of acting COO, right?
Right.
Can you just briefly give reasons to this committee why you requested to step down?
As COO, I have to sign off the report, and by so doing, it's confirmation that this report is correct. It's factually correct. All the relevant policies, laws, etc., were considered, and this is the right conclusion, a remedial action, taking into account the complaint itself and the findings. So you can't do that. All you do now is you get a report on the 14th of August. You proofread now. You correct the mistakes, minor mistakes, and then you have to send it through. In some situations, you end up correcting, asking for a soft copy so that you can correct and comply with the deadline for that report. So I was more of a proofreader, which I felt I'm not benefiting anything from this post except correcting trivial mistakes in the reports.
And in paragraph 72, you also refer to the stress, the overwhelming pressure flowing from impractical deadlines, low staff morale, tension, toxicity, and so on, are some of the factors that made you ask to step down from your acting position, right?
Yes. It was because now you want reports, they're brought late. Now you start talking the language of this audi, and then staff is stressed, they take sick leave, and there's tension, there's toxicity in the office, the staff is unhappy, and the environment, it's filled with fear that if I don't do this, if I don't submit on the 14th, irrespective of whether the report it's of good quality, they are going to be issued with this audi. As it is understood within PPSA. So that was the issue regarding this the contents of 72, paragraph 72. So I requested that I need to step down.
So after you stepped down, Ms. Baloyi was appointed as the COO in 2019, right?
Yes.
And then Mr. Lucky Mohalaba was the COO in 2020, right?
Right.
In 2021, Ms. Mamabulu was the acting CEO, correct?
Correct.
And in 2022, currently Ms. Tejane is now the acting COO, right?
Correct.
You then talk very briefly about how you got to perform the function of acting executive manager GGI. Can you just tell the committee how you found yourself performing that role?
Yes, Advocate Stoffel Fourie had requested to relocate to Eastern Cape office, and he was responsible for 4 provinces, PII Coastal, and he was initially the executive manager, GGI. So when he left for Cape Town, for Eastern Cape, GGI was left without any executive manager. But I was the acting COO, so all the reports that go to PP have to go through the COO. So it made sense that even the GGI, even though they don't have an executive manager, their reports will go through my office.
So the next topic you then address in your affidavit is what you refer to as the unhealthy working environment. And your first topic there is the culture of fear.
Yes.
Or what you say is the culture of fear. And you say that the various reporting meetings that the PP required to be held became gatherings of fear in the organization. Can you elaborate, please, on why you say these meetings became gatherings of fear?
Yes, you prepare your task register, and because you sit with investigators, you get their updates regarding their individual reports, and you find that they didn't meet the deadlines, and now they motivate, they explain to you why they couldn't. They would give reasons such as we have to attend meetings, we have to still subpoena so and so. We gathered more information after the meetings, we received more information. So you write those things, and then they request that, okay, can you extend the deadline? Can you go to the meeting and request the deadline? And there were those requests were not taken, they were not never acceptable to a public protector. You can make your proposal, but at the end of the day, she will set her deadline, which still would make it impossible for you to achieve the target. So staff, when we come back, we report back to them that you have to submit this report. You ask for 30th of April, but you are now requested to submit it on the 15th of April. So extension, instead of being a month, now you are given just 2 weeks to finalize, and still they won't miss that deadline.
So Mr. Futana Tebele's evidence to this committee, and I'll paraphrase it, was to the effect that people, or EMs in particular, they set their own targets, or they set their own deadlines, which the PP then holds them to when they don't comply with them. Do you have any comments to that?
Yes, you go there and you want to explain why you didn't meet, because remember, you have to say, this is the product that I'll deliver on, for example, on the 30th of April. You go there, you didn't submit that Section 79 notice or the final report. And you say, I will submit by the end of May. And PP will say, no, not end of May. When do you want to submit? Then you say, no, by the end of May. And then the decision will be no, by the 15th of May. So you don't set your deadlines. Yes, you are asked, but the deadline that is registered, it's not a deadline that you have set yourself.
You mentioned as an example of deadlines that were unreasonable, the investigation relating to the Department of Transport. This you say in paragraph 79, right? And what you say there is that initially a deadline, the report was due to be finalized on the 31st of March. This was unreasonable and it was an unreasonable and impractical deadline. Why do you say that?
I just want to take you to this NM12 just to explain this. I know that it's difficult to understand, but from my perspective, I can be able to explain it.
Yes, if you could do so briefly, thank you. Page 4279.
Yes. Under the discussion, okay, let me start with the resolution, column resolution. You'll see there that report to be finalized by the 31st of March, 2018. This is the deadline that is given for all maybe cases older than 2 years. And this state it's locked, irrespective of where the investigation is. So if this thing is decided on the 1st of January, by the end of 31 March 2018, you must submit a report. Now go to the issue of to this column of discussion. Even though I was not the COO then in March, but look at the discussion as to what happened in this case. Advocate Fourie indicated that they have given extension to the DG of Transport to respond on the requested documents. And then number 2, Advocate Fourie indicated that the meeting with NRCS will be on the 22nd of February 2018. And we are talking here about a case, you haven't even issued a Section 79, but the report is due on the 31st of March. And then the number 3, under discussion, Advocate Fourie indicated that they wrote to the DG of Transport and they requested, meaning the Department of Transport requested an extension to respond till 3 March 2018. He further indicated that they need to issue a report that will prevent this problem in future. So now the Department of Transport comes in and say, can we get an extension so that we can respond to you? And then on number 4, Mr. Matabuche indicated that they received responses from National Regulation, whatever, as NRCS, still awaiting DG of Transport to respond he further indicated that the report will be submitted end of April 2018. Now, as you can see, as the investigation is unfolding, departments are asking for extensions. You haven't even drafted the Section 79. Now, obviously, when you look at 31 March, it's impossible to achieve that deadline. You look at the next page, you can see that this case under number 3, I'll just go to number 3. 3, the investigator has received the Section 79 from ACU. So Section 79 was obviously drafted after that meeting in April. And this Section 79 comes to me on the 16th of August. And I have to quality assure, I have to look at this report and I give back the report back to the investigator with my inputs. And I'll take the report, once it comes back, I have to take that report for quality assurance. So the deadline of 31 March, as you can see, it's totally unrealistic. If really you have mapped out this investigation, instead of saying all these 10 cases you have to finalize by the 31st of March 2018, not taking into account that there are dependencies. You are dependent on the department to respond, to provide you with more information, and when you meet with them, they give you more information. So that's how these deadlines, these cases unfolded like that. The next case you'll see, initially the report was due on the 31st of March 2018. But as they are investigating, it's no longer investigation. The investigator now is suggesting that, how about holding public hearings? So you set the date, you say you'll issue a report, but later you discover that, no, the best thing is to hold public hearings and then write reports. So it will go over the 31st of March. Thank you.
Is that why you say in paragraph 80 that quite 4210, paragraph 80, yeah, is that why you say in paragraph 80 that quite often in investigations it's necessary to have a flexible approach to deadlines Because there may be complex matters, there may be an issue with the availability of witnesses and organs of state who need to submit information and so on.
Yes.
Right. And of course, you do say in paragraph 81 that this is made even, this need for flexibility is made even more so when you deal with an institution such as the PPSA, which is undercapacitated, and where investigators do not have the luxury of working only on one or a few cases at a time, correct?
Correct.
So you do say later on in your affidavit that you were actually issued with an audi letter in respect of the failure to finalize this Department of Transport matter that you've just explained in detail, correct?
Correct. Now,
just to be clear, and you say this in paragraph 85, you have no difficulty with deadlines, and you agree with the PP that deadlines are necessary in order to reduce the backlog, yeah, right?
Yes, right.
So you support the approach of having deadlines in order to deal with the backlog. What's your difficulty with the deadlines then?
They must take into account the circumstances that would lead to the deadline not being met. Take into account that there are dependencies. Yes, when you get your complaint is given to you, you have to draft an investigation plan, but things can happen during the investigation. So you have to be flexible as things are unfolding. You must be able to say, okay, in this case, because you're still going to meet with the department, now it means making an appointment with the DG or minister, they are not easily available. So at least give them a notice of about a month. And then you meet with the minister, they give you more information. If they give you more information, you have to analyze that information and include it in your Section 79 or your final report. So we must be able to take those things into account and when setting deadlines and shift them as per the investigation.
So you mentioned in paragraph 86 that you were issued with yet another audi during 2018. This is the one where you say your response, you don't have a copy of that audi letter, but your response is NM14. Just briefly, what was that one for? It related to alleged failure to ensure compliance with the PP's instructions, correct?
Correct. In this case, what is strange is that the compliance unit was never reporting to COO or to CSM by then. It was reporting to CEO. And I was given instruction to follow up on a certain remedial action implementation of a report. And I followed up. I wrote to the manager and the compliance manager to provide me with information and to comply with the Pulp Protector's instructions. Because when you say Nthoriseng assist, I always assist. I don't comply because I won't complain, because my letter of appointment says the Pulp Protector can assign any other duties over and above the duties that are in your performance agreement. So I followed up and later I received an audit from Mr. Maslangu that I did not execute the instruction as given by the Pulp Protector. So I had to provide proof that this is the following up that I did. And unfortunately, this is this unit reports to you, directly to you.
You say in paragraph 87 that the PPSA is the harshest environment that you've ever worked for, correct?
Correct.
Now, Ms. Motsitsi, how long have you been in the public service for?
Okay, I've been in the public service for 28 years, and then for 18 years as a senior manager, including executive manager.
Thanks. Now, you talk about, in the next section of your affidavit, you talk about the issue of the draft watermark, right?
Yes.
Now, You say that this was an initiative that you started, correct? To place the watermark on reports that were not yet final. Is that right?
That's right.
But you conclude in paragraph 93 that the manner in which the PP responded to this initiative in a session that I'll ask you to just be very brief and tell the committee about, made you feel victimized and humiliated, correct?
Correct.
Just briefly tell the committee how the PP responded to your draft watermark initiative that made you feel this way.
This involved our 3 reports, I think Mbalula report and Peu that we've already discussed, and I can't remember the 3rd report. They were long overdue, yes, and PP had wanted those reports to be submitted. And we had a strategic planning session where the senior managers, provincial reps, and they were outsiders. I think we had a motivational speaker from Gift of the Givers, and we also have a support staff. And to my surprise, there were copies made of those reports, and they were circulated by Public Protector, showing everyone that this is the kind of reports that I get from the executive manager, from the acting COO, from the chief investigators when I ask for work to be delivered. And I still don't see anything wrong in doing that, because I really didn't want PP to sign an incomplete report or a report that will embarrass us, as per the email that we saw from Ms. Mohaladi. And she went on and on lambasting me. And I think that whatever happened that day, it really spoiled my moment for the strategic planning session. I was humiliated. Everybody was talking about me, but it became like that throughout. That when you can't deliver, you have to go through this, and your staff, your admin clerks will come and try to show you that, you know what, we understand that was bad, but please be well, we are praying for you, etc.
So you describe what you in the next section, you talk about what you describe as you worked abnormally long working hours at the PPSA, correct?
Correct.
Now, do you accept that as an executive manager, you're at a fairly senior level, and the expectation is, in fact, that you work outside of the set working hours, right?
That's true. That's true. Yes.
But you still say that the hours at the PPSA were abnormally long. Is that right? Yes.
As you see, I've been acting as CEO, COO, going to CSM, and I was now lately until June, I was responsible for investigation. Like, I had my own branch to run. I was also responsible for phase 1. What happened? I'll be doing the CSM functions and going on roadshows, especially in February, March. I'll be going on roadshows. And after the roadshows, I'll come back from the plane, and I have to meet with, I was assigned two chief investigators and 1 provincial rep, and then we'll start meeting at 3 until the early hours of the morning. There, I was responsible for making sure that I follow up on reports. I was responsible for phase 1. Phase 1, you have to issue allegations letters, you have to collate information, you have to conduct inspections in local, you have to conduct ADRs. And that work, we met every week on Thursdays, and we couldn't finish the tasks because as the leader of that phase, I was never available. And when I'm available, they have to spend those the hours. And because now you even manage staff virtually, you don't even know them, they are from the provinces. We phone them at 10 in the evening to get an update so that we can be able to report on Mondays, because we met every Monday to report back to the acting COO regarding the phases. So the hours, they are normally long. It doesn't matter. The holidays, you find that we meet during the holiday. When you get a holiday, it makes it better because at least you can cover the entire spreadsheet, because I was responsible until June for a backlog of cases older than 2 years. There were about 105, and then AGSD matters. And then I was also now responsible for my branch CSM, where I'm doing early resolution and all those the functions in those 5 units.
So one of the things you raise in this section where you talk about what you say are abnormally long hours is dashboard meetings. They became more expansive, you say, because the scope of the meetings increased to cover not just backlog cases, but also all active cases, correct?
Correct.
With the focus in those meetings being what product and by when, correct?
Yes, those dashboard meetings. Fortunately, I was not doing investigations, but I would have to sit those 2 or 3 days listening to the product and when to be delivered.
Right. You also touch on the issue of leave, of taking leave in paragraph 99, and you say taking leave by executive managers was not encouraged, and that in January every year when the PP came back from her festive season leave, she would indicate that clearing the backlog is the priority and leave shouldn't be taken, correct?
Correct.
You had your own personal experience in which you explain in paragraphs, in subparagraphs 101 onwards, of how you had accumulated so much leave that you were on the verge of losing your leave days. Can you just briefly, please, explain to the committee what that was about?
Yes, every year, at least by the end of the financial year, the focus by PP was that a backlog has to be eradicated. And there would be project plans that all the matters that are still under investigations or that have exceeded their timeframes, they must be finalized. So by so doing, January until end of March, leave is not taken so that we can push the backlog. My personal experience here is in December, I allowed my staff to take leave because they have young kids. And when the school closes, they go home to their provinces, respective provinces. And I have 4 managers and the senior manager. I allowed them to take leave, and then we submit a leave plan. And I undertook in my leave plan that I will take my leave when everyone is back, so that there is someone during December and early January. In January, when I was supposed to take leave, I was informed by the acting COO that PP said no one can take leave. And then there is dashboard in January 2022. So I understood, I accepted that reason because it was after Q3. So January I stayed on for dashboard. And then February, March, I was requested to draft a project for roadshows where we visited 9 provinces. Then after the roadshows, I was highly exhausted. I really needed to take leave. And I had accumulated leave days, and my health issues started again. And I applied for leave. And then the acting COO told me that, no, you can't take leave. There's another dashboard in April. So still, I accepted because my senior manager is very afraid to attend these meetings. So I would understand when she says, can you please just attend the dashboard and then you can take your leave. So I applied for leave in April, then it was denied. Then after April, after the dashboard, I submitted my leave. And by then I had already submitted my application for early retirement because since December, the doctor told me that my health has taken a dive. And she said she keeps on attending to a festering wound and it won't heal in the environment where I was. So I reported to my employers, that my leaders, that I'm forced to to resign, but I want to resign. I've requested at least if I can go until June when I turn 55, so I can attend, so I can take early retirement. So now by then it's April, I have 40 days, and by end of June, if you don't take those leave, we're going to forfeit them. So when my leave was denied, when I applied to CEO, I said, can you please attend to my leave because I can't take leave if you don't approve. She said, no, she's still considering. Then I had to remind him that this and this and this has happened till now. And I am extremely exhausted. And I need to take leave before going on early retirement. She said, no, why don't you cash your days? So I said nothing really will make up for the time that I need to go and rest. So it was eventually approved and I took my leave because I said the remaining days I'll take in June. She said, no, she'll consider that in June. Obviously, those days I was going to forfeit had my early retirement been approved.
And what you say about this is that this was not necessarily, this is just an example. This wasn't the first instance where annual leave was refused. And you yourself as a manager, you had to refuse leave twice for operational reasons, correct?
Yes. But what I do,
so you've mentioned in your testimony just now, and also in your affidavit in paragraph 103, that things reached a point where you applied for early retirement, and you still employed at the PPSA though. So what happened?
Yeah, in late April, I submitted my application for early retirement, and obviously, if you take early retirement at 55, there are penalties that you will have to pay. But there's an option if an employer feels that they will absorb penalties, they can do so. So I was advised that no, apply and then put in your submission that at least PPSA must absorb those penalties. And we thought it would be something reasonable. And besides, I'm opening a space for somebody to get employment. Unfortunately, that early retirement, when the penalties came from GPF, amounted to 1.2 million. And the CEO said, Nthoriseng, this is a lot of money. So I also agreed with her. I said, if I were in your shoes, I wouldn't even sign for 1.2 million. She advised that, okay, because of medical grounds, apply for retirement on medical reasons. So it ended up there. But by the time I submitted my retirement application, my life improved, my health improved drastically. I realized like it was like I could breathe. And towards the end of June, I was supposed to, at least it was supposed to submit by mid-June, and then July. Kept on improving. August, now I started enjoying going to work and starting new projects, and it just improved, and it's still improving even now.
Right. So you now talk about Ms. Mokhaladi, and you talk about her also as you do about Ms. Paloi in this section where you deal with the unhealthy work environment. Now, as you know, Ms. Mokhaladi has given her own evidence to this committee, so I won't spend much time on her except just to extract the few points in what you're saying. You mentioned an incident in paragraph 106 of your affidavit where you found Ms. Mokhaladi crying at her desk, typing a report. Now, she gave evidence at this committee of an incident where she lost a close relative, and the PP was initially sympathetic, but soon after or just before the funeral, the PP then demanded reports and told her that if she didn't produce those reports, consequences would follow. To your recollection, are you talking about the same incident in paragraph 106 of your affidavit?
Yes, that's the same incident. Yes.
All right, and you say you called the PP then, and you told her about the situation and said no one can prepare a meaningful report in Ms. Mokhaladi's condition, right?
Yes, she was in a terrible state.
But that the PP insisted on the report.
No, she said she must submit that report that night. And I think the funeral was going to be held on Saturday. And we were in the office already. It was Thursday evening, very late. And literally, I could see that she's typing something, document. But in that state, I didn't think that she will produce a meaningful report. So that's when I called PP. I said, no, she is in a state. I don't think that she'll be able to submit the report tonight. Then I requested that we allow her to take leave and go home to be with her family. And then on Monday, she'll come and finalize the report. And I took responsibility that I'll see to it that this report is submitted. So she was released on those conditions.
And the PP agreed on those conditions.
Yes.
So earlier in your affidavit, you described the allocation process for complaints and allocating and classifying them. You say in paragraph 108, though, that notwithstanding that procedure, there are cases that have been allocated directly by the PP after receiving a complaint, correct?
Correct.
And you've put up as an example of what you say, NM16 4319.
4319.
4319.
Yes.
Is that the email in which the PP makes a direct allocation? It's an email addressed to Mr. Vusimuzi Dlamini, copied you, Vusi. Here's that matter about confiscation of gadgets by Hawks. Nthoriseng, can you allocate the file to Vusi immediately? Is that what you say
yes.
is a direct allocation by the PP?
Yes.
Can you go down, Tsepo? Who was the complainant?
Democracy in Action, Zama Swazi Majozi.
Can you go down? 4320. Is this the complaint? And can you just tell the committee briefly what the complaint was about?
I think it was that complaint about the influencer during those the July protests. And seems like the police confiscated gadgets from the complainant, and she lodged a complaint with Child Protector regarding her gadgets. It was hers and her family's gadgets. And the complainant, we had to assist her to get these devices.
So Democracy in Action was lodging a complaint on relating to the conduct of the Hawks in confiscating Miss Majozi's and her family's gadgets.
Yes.
Come. Go back to the affidavit. 4217. Right. So you mentioned under this section when you're discussing Miss Mokhaladi, the FSCA report. Now she gave evidence here that Mr. Madiba and Ms. Sekele were ultimately put through disciplinary proceedings as a result of their involvement in this report. Are you aware of that?
I'm aware of that. Yes.
Now, you say in paragraph 114 that the PP directed that you should give evidence against Ms. Mokhaladi in the matter, right?
Yes.
And you put up the email NM17 4322, which you say was the PP's instruction to you to do so. Can you make it bigger?
Yes.
Yeah, we want to see the. It's from. Thanks. And that's an email from the PP to a number of people, including yourself. Yes, and she says, in addition of me and CEO, Ms. Motsitsi should testify on handing over the matter to her as acting COO and requesting her to take action against Mr. Madiba for failure to finalize the Section 79 on the promised date. Ms. Motsitsi must also testify on how the matter was dealt with on handing over to Ms. Mokhaladi or or arrival of COO. Do you see that?
Yes.
Go back to the affidavit at 4219, please. Paragraph 115. So you're saying that in paragraph 115 that the PP's reference to an Audi in this email that we've just read in respect of Ms. Mokhaladi shows why many employees feared the Audi letters would be used as evidence of a pattern of misconduct should the PP wish to hold a disciplinary hearing.
Yes.
Do you mean that by that you mean that employees feared Audi letters because it didn't end there, even if no disciplinary action resulted? It didn't just end there.
No, once you are issued with an Audi, there is no closure. You get an Audi, you explain, and the matter is left hanging. So it's like you are left in suspense. That is what's going to happen. Then you get another Audi, you get another Audi. Now you become a habitual transgressor, and come a point where serious disciplinary action will be taken. That's when I realized that these Audis, where I had to talk about the Audi that I was supposed to issue against Madiba, where I had to issue an Audi against Ms. Mokhaladi, and I ended up accepting the explanation. That's when they come in now in a serious sense that you are a perpetual transgressor when it comes to issues of non-performance or any other issue within the institution. That is my view. That's how I feel.
Right. In the next section of your affidavit, you talk about Ms. Baloyi. Now, Ms. Baloyi has also given her own evidence to this committee. My question to you: why do you mention Ms. Baloyi in your affidavit under this section of unhealthy working environments? What points are you wanting to illustrate through Ms. Baloyi?
Ms. Baloyi, when she joined Public Protector South Africa, she's not legally qualified first, and there was a backlog of over, I think it was over 4,000 cases, and she worked very hard. Firstly, it's not a person who was intimidated by us being attorneys and advocates filling the office of the public protector. She worked very long hours. There was a stage when her child was in hospital. And because we needed to be supportive of her role, we would stay long hours and we discussed cases, and she would ask for advice. And her child was in hospital, but she was still leaving at about 10 at night, going to the hospital, and then from hospital, she would go home and come to the office the following day. At times, she would leave at about 4 a.m. In the morning, and the next morning she's sitting for a media briefing. And I don't know how she did that, but I understood her management when it comes to investigation. She wants to see the complaint and wants to see the report, connect the two. So she did those things, that quality assurance, she did it by herself. And to an extent that I was not doing investigations, but I ended up taking over the database for cases older than 2 years. So one day I found her very broken in her office, and like the latest COO, Mr. Mhalaba, Ms. Baloyi would tell us every day that I'm supposed to be issuing you with Audi letters. And we would ask why? Why are you issuing us with Audi letters? And she said, you know what, if I don't issue with Audi letters, I'm on probation. I'm going to lose my job. So Audi being an Audi, as I understand it, I said, Ms. Baloyi, just give us those Audi so that we can explain our situation. Maybe in a true sense of the word, the Audi in this case, people want to understand our circumstances. So that's how we got to get those Audis as executive managers. So she was very frail, and I think she was not coping with the deadlines and everything that was happening within the institution.
And you say in paragraph 120 that she was also given unreasonable deadlines, and
yeah, if I get those deadlines, she will be responsible to ensure that we meet those deadlines.
Right. Let's move on. We've dealt with the Ms. Musana's incident earlier. Move on to 4224. Yeah, Fred. So you say that the Friede investigation didn't fall within your responsibilities as SCM, right?
Yes.
But that you encountered it in think tank discussions sometime in 2017, correct?
Yes.
You also had cause to deal with the report in your capacity as ACAO, correct?
Yes, as acting CEO, yes.
But you were not party to the finalization of the report, right?
No, I was not party to that.
So you talk about media inquiries that the PPSA received in January 2018, right?
Yes.
After which Mr. Ntho was required to prepare a memo for the PP about the status of the investigation, correct?
Yes, correct.
And then you told Mr. Ntho to report. You then told Mr. Ntho that the PP wanted the report finalized urgently, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Ntho ultimately submitted the report on the 7th of February, 139, 2018. He ultimately submitted the report on the 7th, but there were aspects of the report you say that the PP was not happy with, correct?
Yes.
And she then directed Mr. Ntho and his team, including Mr. Namasisi, to attend a meeting the following day to work through the report, right?
Yes.
You also confirmed that Mr. Ntho wasn't present at the meeting because he was on leave, correct?
Yes.
And the PP wanted you to institute disciplinary action against him because of the absence, correct?
Yes.
Did you do that?
Yes. In fact, to issue an audi to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Did you issue an audi to him? You did issue
yes,
an audi
I did.
to him.
Yes.
And then what happened?
He explained he had applied for leave and it was approved, of course, by me. And he said he wasn't aware that he will be required on that day. So he was on approved leave and I accepted his reasons.
So Mr. Namasisi then circulated the Friede report on the evening of the 7th of February 2018 with his final comment on it, and he listed various concerns which he said could be addressed so that the final report could be issued on the 22nd of February, right?
Yes.
Do you know if his concerns were addressed at all in the final report that went out on the 8th of February?
Because that email was also copied to me, I expected a report from Mr. Ntho, and he was not submitting that report. And I wouldn't accept the report from Mr. Nemesis because he doesn't report to me. In case there are issues that I want to raise with the report, Mr. Ntho must submit and take responsibility and accountability for that report. So Mr. Ntho never submitted this report. So I didn't consider, I read through Mr. Nemasis's inputs and waited for the report from Mr. Ntho, which he never submitted.
Do you know why the Friede report had to go out in that particular week? Final report to be issued in that particular week?
No, I know it was just urgent to be issued. It was urgent.
Okay. Chair, I don't have any other questions for this witness.
Thank you. Thank you, Advocate Mayosi. We'll take a 15-minute break and come back. Thank you. We pause.
Recording stopped.
4:15, we proceed with our work. Having concluded the leading of evidence, I now want to proceed to the next step. And in that regard, I recognize Advocate Mpofu to resume the cross-examination. You will start your 3 hours in Kulua. After that, if you overlap, we'll assess. So we resume now at 4:15. Over to you.
Yes, no, thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, yeah, I need to make a proposal. Well, thank you for the 3 hours, but yeah, we might need more than that. And I heard you saying we will assess at that time. We will certainly need more than that. Let me put it that way. So, Chair, and it's, yeah, we have a whole lot of distractions now to consult in respect of the judgment that we've just received, because we've also just received some letters from some of the parties here. So what I propose, Chair, because it's Friday and we certainly, I can assure you I'm not going to finish tonight with this witness. If you would indulge us, I can do the usual issue of just dealing with some of the high-level issues and then drill down, which will hopefully save us time when we meet with this witness again, and then drill down. But I'm certainly not going to be able to any justice to the cross-examination under the current circumstances. It's just...
so on those highlights, how much time do you need? In your hands?
Let's see, Chair. It's about 4:15 now. I shouldn't go...
Up to 5?
Up to 5 or even before, yeah. But let's target 5.
No problem.
Thank you so
Proceed.
much. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Madam.
Good afternoon, Council.
How are you today?
I'm good, and you, Advocate?
I'm very, very well, thanks. Okay, you had my exchange with the chair. So
yes.
What I propose to do, sometimes it helps, sometimes it other topics that I'm going to converse with you. So that if we agree, for example, I could ask you 100 questions, but they lead to a particular conclusion. So if I start with the conclusion or closer to that conclusion and then we agree, then I don't have to ask you the 100 questions. You understand?
I do understand.
Yes. So I'm going to do that kind of dealing broadly with some of the topics. Those that we agree with, it means we won't deal with them next time. Those that we don't agree with, and please feel free to disagree, then we will drill further down there.
Noted. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Now, let's start with just where you come from. You've given you kind of came back to the Public Protector's Office in 2017. It was your second time around, correct?
Yes, correct.
Right. So, okay. And when you came back, you were from Home Affairs, Department of Home Affairs, correct?
Yes.
And there you were at what, Chief Director level, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And now you are Executive Manager, or rather, as soon as you came back, you were at EM Executive Manager level, correct?
Correct.
And that's in terms of the what they call it OSD, it's almost DDG level, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you are in the same category as Ms. Mokhaladi, you earn about 1.6 million rand per annum per year, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And now, when you left, okay, the public protector kind of encouraged you to apply to come back, correct?
Correct.
Yes. And Chair.
Yes,
yes, I've just had load shedding. I'm on a generator, so
okay.
that's why there was that on and off. But for now, it's working. But
okay.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Let's watch it. I was alerted to that.
Yes, thank you. Okay, ma'am, I was then saying the public. I just want to see the public protector has been good to you, correct?
Correct.
Yes, and you were having problems at Home Affairs when she suggested that you apply to come back, correct?
What problems, Advocate?
I don't know. I was not there. Those are my instructions. Did you not have any problems with the leadership at Home Affairs?
Not at all.
No problems with Mr. Apleni and people like that?
Not at all.
Nothing
In
at
fact,
all?
that's the best DG I've ever served.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I've learned a lot under him.
Correct. Yeah, and you were chief director. That would mean above you would be DDG and DG. No problems even at the DDG level?
No problems even at the DDG level.
Okay. Well, all right. The evidence of the public protector will be that you and her had shared some problems. You were transferred to Limpopo at some stage, correct?
Yes, that I had volunteered. Home Affairs was operating as in a zone. They had a zone system.
Right.
Like one chief director will be responsible for several provinces. So, and there was no female provincial manager then. So in 2010, I was asked if I can, they were piloting bringing back the provincial managers. And I was asked if I am willing to be the subject of that pilot. And I was given several provinces, and the nearest one, because I wanted to keep my home here in Pretoria, it's in 4 years. So the traveling, of course, I was traveling every Monday, coming back every Friday.
Okay. All right. Thank you, ma'am. No, sorry, I don't want us to go down that road, of whatever was happening at Home Affairs. All I'm saying, maybe let me ask it this way. If there were any push factors from the Home Affairs side or pull factors from the public protector side, in other words, what made you to make the move?
Well, I kept my home. My family didn't want to move with me to Limpopo. So in 2011, the post of provincial manager was advertised, and obviously I intended to relocate, but unfortunately, my family didn't want to move. So then that was the traveling part. That was a bit challenge, but that was the best time of my life, because in Limpopo, I was responsible for about 103 offices. And then Beitbridge was amongst those offices. And the ports of entries, 9 ports of entries. And I was also involved, also managed the refugee center. So it was a vibrant environment that I enjoyed quite a lot.
Okay, please, yeah, okay. Thank you. I'm sure it was, but I'm just saying. Can you tell us what the I think you've mentioned one already, which was the issue of, I suppose, working outside of the province. Yeah. was that one of the pull? Maybe let me ask you leading questions. That was one of the push factors or the pull factors, because obviously this new job would be based in Gauteng, correct?
In fact, advocate, if I can clarify and assist you, this was not the first time. This post of executive manager, complaints and stakeholder management, was advertised during Advocate Thuli Madonsela's time, and I had applied. So when it was advertised the second time, I applied again. So the traveling part was a bit of a challenge. Yes, it was a bit of a challenge, but the rewards in job satisfaction, they were there. I enjoyed being at Home Affairs.
Okay, then why did you leave then?
Coming back home, because I kept my home and my son went to university. Because when he was still at doing matric, he stayed here. I had to employ somebody to stay with him. And then when he went to university in Cape Town, then my house was left alone. So really I had to come back home. Yes.
Okay, good. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. So that was one of the pull factors that you would be based in Gauteng. Okay. And obviously this other job also had a higher salary, correct?
This other job, which one?
The new one, the public protector one, the EM job, the one you are in now. I'm saying it was a higher level. I think we've already established that. It was a DDG level.
No, we didn't establish that, advocate. It's still at level 14. I was at level 14 at Home Affairs. I'm still occupying. I was at level 14 as a chief director. I'm still at level 14 within PPSA. But now it's OSD. But then I didn't know that it's going to be OSD. To me, it was moving from chief director post to another chief director post.
Fine, but as it happens now, with the OSD, it's what I was saying we've already established is that it's at around DDG level now, correct?
Effects that I discovered that OSD is a higher salary. Yes.
Yes, madam. I'm saying right now it is at DDG level. It's at a higher level. Yes or no?
It's level 14. It's level 14. It's level 14.
Is it higher than what you were at Home Affairs?
I was at level 14 at Home Affairs. I'm still at level 14 at Public Protector South Africa.
And the remuneration is the same?
No, it's not the same because this one is
which one is higher? Sorry, which one is higher?
Always Public Protector South Africa.
Thank you very much. Okay. All right. All right. Then so anyway, just to close that chapter for now, we might come back to it. Your evidence is that there were no disciplinary issues or any kinds of issues, audi letters, that kind of thing. There was no such. There were no issues at Home Affairs apart from the reasons, the valid reasons that you have given us. Correct?
This concept of audi letters, if I can bring you into the picture, Advocate Mpofu, it starts from Mr. Apleni would serve all management. In fact, he was very strict when it comes to his asset register. So you move your chair and the following year you don't report on that chair, he would issue an audi letter. But how he did it is 1 year we attend strategic sessions. He would say, I want the asset registers. That was the first time. The second time he said, if your asset register doesn't match, I'm going to issue you with audi letters. So when you leave the meeting, all of us as management would get those audi letters. Okay. Then the following year, he would do the same and said, you didn't submit my asset register. It was not complete. So I'm going to make sure that I'm issuing with a second audi letter. So that is where it was, but it was an audi letter in a sense that I'm giving you an opportunity to go and correct your asset register. That's how I know audi letter, how it works. It was not, it was not a hostile process. It was a process for you to make sure that your assets are in order. And as a provincial manager, I can cost my assets because that that would enable the department to motivate for more budget based on the assets that the department has.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, maybe not for today, but please, if you just answer my question, I'm fine. Don't go into other issues because we're going to get waylaid into all sorts of, then will be much longer than even the period I was estimating. I've asked you a simple question. Were you issued with audi letters at...
Yes, for asset registers, yes.
Yes. How many audi letters were you issued with at Home Affairs?
I think it was two.
Two, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. And despite that, you still think that Mr. Upland was the best employer I ever worked for, correct?
Yes. Yeah. No, I still think so, yes.
100%. Okay, good. All right. Now, the audi letters that were issued at Home Affairs would obviously also be, simply because they were written, you would have to respond to them in writing in the same way as in the Public Protector's Office, correct?
Correct.
Right. And your responses would be obviously in the form of an explanation. As you correctly said, and as a legally trained person, audi alteram partem means it's an opportunity.
It's to the other side, yes.
Yes, it's an opportunity to give you a chance. It's not in itself disciplinary action, correct?
If you look at the end of the letter, it says you must respond within maybe 5 days, and failing that, your disciplinary action will be taken against you. So correct. That is the only thing that that is contained in the audi letter that shows that a serious step will be taken.
Yes, madam, I'm saying an audi letter, whether it's from Home Affairs or from wherever, or the post office, yeah, an audi letter is not in itself disciplinary action. Let's just agree on that.
No, definitely it's not. It's not. He listened to the other side.
Yes, good. And as you correctly point out, let's assume you ignore it or you don't give a satisfactory answer. It may lead to disciplinary action. I accept that. Do you understand?
You must come back and say, I've accepted your explanation and I understand. And then, so you must put closure, yes. Correct. There must be closure, yes.
Okay, good. All right, then we'll come back to then the audi letters that you may have received from Home Affairs as compared to the ones that no, maybe let's do this just quickly. If you go to page, sorry, we'll come back to that when we deal with something else. Right. Let's quickly go to the issue of Ms. Mokhaladi.
Yes.
Do I understand you to be saying that you refuse to take steps against her?
No, you heard me wrong. You heard that wrong. You heard that wrong.
Okay, good. Okay, it's fine if I had it wrong. Then, so you are aware that she was, one of your things is that you don't understand how the financial services matter ended with Ms. Mokhaladi.
The financial, FSCA matter.
FSCA, yes.
Yes, I am the one who was called in by the public protector, and she wanted a recommendation from me. And I recommended Mr. Madiba and Advocate Van Eeren. And I was asked by the public protector to call them in the office. And those files, those 2 boxes were handed over by the public protector, informed them that these matters, the case is allocated to them to investigate. So the matters were with Mr. Madiba and Advocate Van Eeren.
Yes, okay. No, I just wanted to assist you. I'm saying somewhere in your statement, you said you didn't know how it then landed on Ms. Mokhaladi's domain, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Are you aware? Yes. That means you were not aware that on the 1st of November, Ms. Mokhaladi was transferred, well, not transferred, was given the responsibility to be in charge of that unit where Ms. Van Eerden was working and Mr. Mudiba. You were not aware of that?
I explained that when Advocate Fourie was transferred to Eastern Cape, GGI unit was left without an executive manager. Mm-hmm. And their reports, I think there were 3 chief investigators in that unit. They would report to me, and it's ordinarily they would report, because their report, before they go to PP, any report will have to come through to COO. And that happened. So those reports from Madiba regarding FSCA, they would come from Madiba and Van Eerden, not from Ms. Mokhaladi. So Ms. Mokhaladi took over GGI, I think, somewhere in when I requested to step down as COO. Because I wrote after my, in the audi that was served by Mr. Mahlangu, that I request to step down as a TCOO, and Ms. Mokhaladi stepped in, yes.
Okay, fine. Let me cut straight to the chase. Yeah, one of the issues that I will raise with you when we meet again is your tendency to try to be a spokesperson for other people. And let me explain what I mean by that. Ms. Mokhaladi never had any problem when she was here about the fact that the FSCA file was on her lap, because she obviously understood how that came about. But you seem to have a problem. And I'm just saying there's something strange about that, because if she was being unfairly saddled with that file, then she would have told the committee, not you. Do you understand? Firstly, do you understand? I
don't understand.
Okay,
because you say she never had any problem. I never said she had any problem. I said the files FCSA matter, while FSCA matter was handed over, it was allocated to Mr. Madiba and Ms. Van Eerden. And when she took over on the 1st of November, taking over GGI, obviously all the matters that were handled by Mr. Madiba, Mr. Rodnima Tabuche, and Ms. Lusedi Sikele, they would fall within Ms. Mokhaladi's authority management.
All right. I think let's do it like this, madam. I'm going to let me rather deal with, instead of what I proposed to you, I'll deal with rather one of the topics and exhaust it, and then we'll move to the others, because I don't think it's going to work the way you're answering the questions. Let's go back to the question, to the issue of audis, ma'am. Now, you said at paragraph 115.
Paragraph 115.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, remember, your theory is now that the audi letters, at some stage you became aware that they were being used in disciplinary proceedings. You remember that evidence? Yes, yeah. And you said that awareness from your part came from the fact that there was a reference by the PP to an audi letter in respect of Ms. Mokhaladi.
NM17, let's go to NM17.
Yes, let's go there. You'll find it at 4322.
4322, yes.
Yes, ma'am. Is there any reference to an audi letter to Ms. Mokhaladi?
Go down there. go down, I think it's best to read this context. Advocate, as you said, it's very important. Let's start with, can I read this email? No, the email, that's to, good evening, Mr. Jani.
Which one? The one from Mr. Mhlongo?
Yes, let's read that.
Okay.
Yes, can I read it for you?
No, just read the part I'm asking you about, ma'am. It's quite a long thing, yeah.
But I have to respond to you, Advocate, fully.
All right, you can read the whole thing, ma'am.
Okay, I refer to is Mr. Mhlongo writing to Mr. Tejani and Motsitsi Tole. The email says, PSA on behalf of Abongile Madiba, Lesedi Scale and Bonanza Komkhaladi. Good evening, Mr. Jani. I refer to our previous conversation regarding this matter. Please note the email below from our external lawyers regarding the dates for the pre-inquiry and hearing. As previously discussed, the spade work has been done in the matter. We have appointed external attorneys to initiate, and they have been furnished with all the documents and information which they requested to enable them to prosecute the charges on our behalf. They have also consulted Ms. Karina van Eerden in preparation for her to be our lead witness. We have also appointed an external law firm to brief an advocate who will be chairing the hearing. He is the one who has confirmed the dates below. The initiators have, however, indicated that they will supplement our charge sheet and that they will send the amended charges together with the dates, times, and places of both the pre-inquiry conference and inquiry to the 3 employees in question. This is the most critical paragraph. They also indicated, the one that I'm reading now.
Yeah.
They also indicated that they also require someone senior to corroborate Karina's testimony and speak to the other charges such as insubordination.
Mm-hmm.
They need somebody senior. As long as that person is senior, fine. Naturally, Karina cannot lead evidence of insubordination of her superiors, meaning that Karina cannot testify against the seniors.
I know what it means, ma'am. Yeah.
They indicated that it would have to be the COO, CEO, or PP who can testify against the EM particularly.
Mm.
We must find out from them if the CEO can still testify, even though he will no longer be at the PPSA at the time. They also, okay, that paragraph I can skip. Then the paragraph that comes to me, the request is, in addition of me and CEO, Ms. Motsitsi should testify on handling over the matter to hear.
Okay. Ms. Motsitsi, please, I'm begging you. I asked you a simple question about where in that page 4322 is there reference about an audi letter to Ms. Mokhaladi by the PP, and you took me to. You want to read a full letter which comes from somebody else, not the PP. So I've allowed you to do that. Can you now please answer my question? Where
Can I read the email that I was going to read?
The other email, the other one.
Yes, yeah, just go here. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. So the PP writes, remember Mr. Mhlongo wants somebody who can testify about insubordination. In addition of me and CEO, Ms. Motsitsi should testify on handing over the matter to her as acting COO. Yes, that handing over I know I spoke about. And requesting her to take action against Madiba for failure to finalize the Section 7.9 on the promised date. Ms. Motsitsi must also testify on how the matter was dealt with on handing over to Ms. Mokhaladi or arrival of COO. So it was when I said the audi letters can be used in future where there are other transactions. I was referring to this email.
Madam, okay. Do you accept that nothing that you've read in both of these emails refers to an audi letter to Ms. Mokhaladi? Yes or no?
As advocate, who can testify about insubordination of a person who reported to COO? May I ask, please?
No.
Chair.
Okay. Madam, let me assist you. Let's do it bit by bit. Believe me, I'll give you a chance to explain because this is the only thing we're going to deal with here. I'm saying can we just do it bit by bit? Do you agree with me that there is no reference on that page to an audi letter to Ms. Mokhaladi? There might be an explanation, which I will give you an opportunity to do, but we can't work like this. You just have to answer my questions. Do you accept that there's no reference to an audi letter here? In both of the letters?
I was the supervisor for Ms. Mokhaladi, and I am the only one who can testify on insubordination. And that's the person that I served in audi to, and she gave me an explanation. So when I testified, I was referring to the very thing that they needed a person to testify about insubordination.
Okay, I'm asking you for the last time. Do you accept that in the letter that you wanted to read in full and the one that you've just read now, there is no reference to an audi letter to Ms. Mokhaladi? Yes or no?
Insinuation, there is a directive that I have to testify based on the transgression that was committed by Ms. Madiba, by Mr. Madiba and Ms. Mokhaladi.
And what has that got to do with an audi letter?
Who would testify? How do you testify about insubordination if you didn't start with an audi letter? Obviously, if I'm going to talk about insubordination, it's the fact that she failed to submit the reports as and when they were required by the public protector.
All right. So what you say in paragraph 115, when you say the PP's reference to an audi in respect of Ms. Mokhaladi, that doesn't appear anywhere in the annexure. You agree?
115. You said paragraph?
Paragraph 115, ma'am, where we started.
So what is the question?
When you say at paragraph 115, the public protector's reference to an audi in respect of Ms. Mokhaladi shows why many employees feared the audi letters. That is not anywhere near the what you've read now. There's no such reference. You agree?
By insinuation, it is there. I don't agree with you.
Chairperson, I think we're going to take a couple of days here. But okay, anyway, let me put it to you, madam. You can say whatever you want. What you've said there under oath and paragraph 115 about the PP's reference to an audi in respect of Ms. Mokhaladi, and which shows why employees feared the audi letters is fictitious. It's not in the correspondence that you refer to. Any comment?
It's there by insinuation.
All right, it's not there in words.
It's there by insinuation, advocate.
Yes, but it's not there in words, in typed in words.
It's there by insinuation, advocate. I've responded to that question.
All right. All right. So, okay, then let's try and understand that. So, the employees that you are referring to would have had to read the thing that you have read, and insinuate in there that there was a reference to audi letters. Is that your evidence?
The email was copied to me.
Yes.
To say there needs to be a person who's senior who can testify against the executive manager. And the public protector writes, I, as CEO, and Nthoriseng will testify.
Yes, that's the point I'm making. The public protector even included herself as one of the possible witnesses, correct?
Correct.
So, by insinuation, she was talking about an audi letter. That's your evidence.
My evidence is for you to get to insubordination, the process must have started with an audi where a person explains and you reject the explanation and you go to warnings, if really you want to go to warnings, and then you go to disciplinary if this person doesn't improve.
All right. Anyway, okay. Maybe we'll try again when I don't know when what happens. But in the other letter that you wanted to read at 4322, just to assist the committee.
4322?
Yeah, the same letter, the one I didn't refer you to, but you wanted to read. Now I'm referring you to it, the one of Mr. Mhlongo.
Yes.
Yeah. Now I'm saying just from what you were reading now, just to assist the committee about the fairness or otherwise of these processes. So am I correct that it would go something like this then? You'd get an audi letter, which is your opportunity to be heard. Correct? That would be step one. You've just said that. That's where
normal process, yes.
Yes, you said subordination. Yeah, you've just said, for example, insubordination would start there. So you'd get an audi letter, you respond to the audi letter.
Yes.
If as in your case, if the explanation is satisfactory, that's the end of the matter, correct?
You have to communicate further and say, I've accepted your reason. I hear that, let's say, for instance, a person says, but I can't use spreadsheet, or I don't have capacity, or I need coaching and mentoring, or a person comes with something private, like I have personal issues at home. Then you have to support that employee. So it doesn't end like that. And you have to take steps to make sure that you empower that person to be able to perform.
All right. I'll assume all that is done. If then your explanation is not satisfactory, then you get charged, let's say. According to this letter from Mr. Mhlongo, then what would then happen is that there would be an external law firm to chair the hearing, correct? I mean,
you don't get charged a normal process. You don't get charged. You are issued. There's progressive disciplinary steps that you can take.
Yes.
You can get a warning, a written warning, final written warning, and eventually disciplinary action will be taken where a chairperson will be appointed to charge you.
Fine. Assume all that has taken place. What would then happen is it would be investigated by an independent person. That's what I'm getting at, correct?
Well, as to whether it's investigated by an independent person or a person internally, it's neither here nor there. I'm not a labor relations expert in the PPSA, but if it's investigated, I've seen cases which were investigated by attorneys and they bring reports, or it will be a matter which is investigated internally and then submitted to labor relations to take steps.
Okay, I know you are not a labor relations expert, ma'am, but if you are a CEO, you are basically expected to understand the whole organization, correct?
Yes, as CEO, I have experts that are reporting to me.
Yes.
Those experts will include labor relations officers.
Correct.
And
yeah.
they will advise me what steps to take to make sure that the process is fair.
No, I understand, ma'am. Believe me, I know someone who was a CEO before. Yeah. I'm simply saying that if you are a CEO, you must have some functional knowledge of the various departments that fall under you, correct?
Yes, you must have a knowledge, and because you are advised by your managers. That's why we advise CEO.
Yes or no will do. Thank you. Okay. So then, let's forget about whether it's an internal or an external investigator. Let's use the example where it's an external investigator. That would be an independent outside law firm, correct?
I said it can be internal, it can be external. It depends on the process that is chosen by the person that is charging the employee.
Yes, ma'am. And if it's external, it would be an independent law firm or such, correct?
I don't agree with you, advocate. I said, I have issued audi letters. I have taken matters up to an extent of labor relation. I never appointed somebody to investigate because I was sure that I followed proper processes from beginning to end. So as a manager, I have investigated, I have engaged, and I have tried to improve, and eventually find that this underperformance, it has now resulted in misconduct. So why should an external person come and investigate underperformance? So that's why I'm saying it will depend on its own merits. Each case depends on its own merits.
Ms. Motsitsi, please listen to the question. I accept that. Sometimes it's internal. That's what you're saying, correct?
Yes, it's internal.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm saying, okay, put that aside. Put that aside completely now. When it is external, then an outside law firm would be engaged typically, correct?
Does it have to be a law firm? Because in one case, I know that it was another institution that investigated.
Okay, an independent institution, whether it's a law firm or an accountant's firm or whatever, would then be appointed, correct?
May be appointed. Can you use may?
Okay. After that, after the independent institution, the matter is then referred to another independent institution, to an independent law firm to appoint a chairperson, correct?
I was appointed as a chairperson, but I was not independent. I was within. I was appointed to chair Mr. Ndo's case. So that's why I don't understand where you are leading with this question. Because you're
don't worry, ma'am, don't worry about where I'm leading with the question. Just answer the question, please. I don't agree with in a case, you don't have to agree or disagree. I'm asking you a simple question. When the process is now being externally handled, does it typically then get referred to an independent attorney who will appoint a chairperson, yes or no? In those instances, not always, in those instances.
I don't know, and I don't believe it's that it happens in those instances. I was a CEO, yes, for 3 months, and I never referred a case to an attorney who refers to another attorney for chairing the case. So okay.
When you were, no, sorry, ma'am. Sorry to cut you. So when you're a CEO, you've never had, or even when you're not a CEO, you've never heard of a disciplinary hearing being referred to an independent chairperson?
It has happened. I've heard that it happened with Ms. Mohaladi. I think with Mr. Ndo, it was referred to Gender Commission. Yeah, I know in those instances.
All right, I think let's do it like this. Chairperson, this is my last attempt at this here. Let's go to the letter from Mr. Nthoriseng. The one that you read, 1, 2, 3. Okay. 4322. No, 4322, ma'am, yeah. But the third paragraph of Mr. Mthombo's letter. All I'm really trying to do with you is to show you that there is a kind of general process that gets followed, which involves independent people. I don't know where the problem is. Go to the third paragraph. It says, we have also appointed an external law firm to brief an advocate who will be chairing the hearing. You see that?
I see that.
Yes, okay. Now that means then that there was apart from the investigation, which may have happened, there was an external law firm, and that law firm would also appoint an external advocate. Agreed?
I don't know. I was not involved in this process. Remember?
Okay, why were you reading this letter to the...
I was reading this letter to show that in a case of Ms. Mohaladi, a public protector wrote that I will be testifying, in fact, copied me to inform Mr. Jani and Mr. Mhlongo, she was informing Mr. Mhlongo, Mr. Misuse, and Lisiwe. I was just copying, and yes. That this is an example I was using, that audi letter we don't have closure when it comes to audi letters. So that's why when I use this example, I was not using it that there will be an independent chairperson, there will be a law firm that will be investigating. No, I was not involved in those processes.
No, I'm not saying you. Are you really telling us that as the acting chief executive officer of an entity, you cannot confirm that there was a process of ensuring independence in disciplinary proceedings of the hundreds of people that you were a CEO of? Is that really what you're trying to say?
Can you repeat your question, Advocate?
Are you telling this committee that as someone who rose up to the level of chief executive officer of any entity, and it could be any entity, you are not able simply to confirm that the process by which that entity ensured that there is fairness in disciplinary processes was a series of independent persons who would be engaged at various stages of that process? Because really that's all I'm trying to converse with you. But
Advocate, firstly, this letter was written in January 2020. I was the executive manager. Secondly, I want to point it out to you. When I was appointed, when I was asked to assist as acting CEO, I said I will assist on condition that I'm not even getting an allowance because it's a learning curve. So you cannot say I rose to the level of CEO, because 3 months after I was requested to assist, I decided to step down. So you cannot say I rose to that level because I'm still executive manager, complaints and stakeholder manager.
Okay, madam. Okay. Even as executive manager, I'm sure you are responsible for the people who report. How many people report to you as executive manager now?
Okay, I have a senior manager who reports directly to me, and a secretary, they report directly to me. And then we have 4 managers that report.
You don't know how many people report to you?
I know it's 24 all in all.
Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah. But I don't issue letters to them. I don't charge them.
I didn't ask you that. I didn't ask you that. I just said how many people report to you? 24. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. And you've already said that. Okay. So after a few months in the acting CEO position, I think you've explained it was just too much. You couldn't do it anymore. Correct?
That's true.
Yes. Okay. No, then that I understand. Okay. Now, okay, just sorry, just one more thing. You took, I'm at 4268 now. You took Mr. Ndo 4268. 4268. Yeah.
It is evidence. If it is not, it doesn't check.
Okay, before we go there, did I understand your previous answer to be that you don't charge people, those people who are under your direct supervision?
You heard me incorrectly, Advocate. I said I'm responsible for a senior manager, and if she doesn't perform or conducts herself inappropriately, then I am the one who will be issuing an audit to her and getting an explanation and engaging her and taking further steps.
Okay.
So
yes. Okay, that's fine. So that's why I wanted to give you this example here. You basically read the Riot Act to was it Mr. Ndo at 4268?
Mr. Ndo, yes.
Yes. Because of he did not submit the document on time, correct?
Yes, yes.
And you accused him of malicious compliance, correct?
In the letter that he submitted on the 14th, yes.
You did?
Yes, I said what he did was malicious compliance.
Yes, and and that was effectively your own. You were expressing your own view, correct?
Yes, as the acting COO.
At that stage, as acting COO, yeah. You were frustrated by the fact that they gave you the report a day before.
Yes.
Correct? Yes. And what you put there was, as I say, it's stronger language than an audi letter to accuse someone of malicious compliance. That's quite a serious accusation, correct?
Correct. I had engaged Mr. Ndo, I think on several occasions, but I think it's not in this matter, in other matters. The difference with Mr. Ndo is not as open as other executive managers. Mm-hmm. So when I was requesting this report, as you can see, there was supposed to be a Skype meeting for PP on the 14th of August. Mm-hmm. And he sent me the report on the 14th of August. Mm-hmm. And I have to go through that report on the 14th of August, quality assure it, make sure that it is properly done, and then send it to PP, who will be able to conduct her meeting on the 14th of August. So yes, he submitted a report. Unfortunately, it is not attached here, but it was not a report that you would expect from the level of executive manager. Hence, I said it's malicious compliance. You are submitting because you were requested to submit.
Yes, no, I think your complaint, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, was not so much about the quality of the report. That might have been another problem, but it was the lateness, the fact that it was given to you without an opportunity for you to deal with it properly. Am I wrong?
You're wrong. I say, number one, the format of the report to PP is unacceptable. How do you expect PP to sign a draft with comments? Yeah? Right. And then I spoke about the lateness of the report, and then I said this is a malicious compliance. Yeah? And if you look at advocate, if you look at I just want to go to a report. Yeah? Just the next memo, go to 4271.
No, I don't want to look at the report right now. Yeah, all I'm saying, you say I'm wrong. You didn't complain about lateness, or did you mean that you did not only complain about lateness?
I complained about lateness, and I complained about the format. And if you go to that report, you'll find that I also make notes under the comment section of the particular report. Yeah. So that's how I manage the reports and quality assurance reports. I will make the cover page is just my comments, my short comments. But if you go to the report, you'll find my comments in the report itself.
Yeah. Okay. No, I don't want to do that, ma'am. All I want to establish now is that you expressed serious frustration because somebody had given you the document late, and whatever else you were worried about, and you even accused that person of a serious case of malicious
compliance. Yes.
That's all I'm saying. Yeah. So all I'm saying is that you then understand if that happened to you, for someone giving you something late, surely you'd understand how frustrating it is for the public protector for that happening across the board. And even she had never gone as far as you have of accusing someone of malicious compliance. All she would do is to either say they must get an audi letter or a warning or whatever, depending on the situation. Do you understand firstly what I'm putting to you, and do you agree with it if you understand it?
Let me try and assist you, Advocate. When it comes to public protectors' frustration regarding the lateness of reports and shifting of deadlines, I know it very well. She was frustrated, and she was supposed to be frustrated. Good. And in as much as—
That's fine, that's enough. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. That's all I'm asking for. So sorry to cut you, I'm just trying to look for time. All right, okay, so that's good. And I think, okay, that was the 14th of August. And then on the 15th of August,
what page?
For the next page, 4270.
4270.
Yes.
Yes.
And again, you make an accusation of malicious compliance there. Is that a second accusation, or is it like reiterating the first one? Just make us understand.
Okay, this is just a routing form, and yes, then it has a memo. So right, under the routing form, there is a comment section where you can put your comments, and then the memo itself, it has the comments. So my comments here and here, it's the same thing, but I will also comment in a report, because as you can see in paragraph 3.1, Mr. Ndo is saying it is recommended that the public protector notes the attached draft report for the Skype meeting on 14 August 20. So I will also make comments. That's how I manage. That's how I record my displeasures or my recommendations to the investigator or to the public protector if I want her to take a note of something that is happening regarding the investigation. Yes,
ma'am. Okay, maybe let me put it this way, just so that we can end on a note maybe that we agree on. This is a proposition I want to make, that when you were dissatisfaction or unhappy, you made comments which could instill fear, as you put it, in someone. I mean, if you accuse someone of malicious prosecution, I think you and I have agreed that that's a stronger thing than just an audi letter.
Malicious compliance.
I'm sorry. Malicious compliance, yes. Which one do you think, maybe let me put it that way, which one do you think instill more fear, to be accused by your superior of malicious compliance, or to just be given an opportunity to explain? Which one do you think, if there was a scale of 1 to 10, which one do you think instills more fear in a person?
Are you talking about the audi as per PPSA understanding, or are you talking about the real audi as per your understanding as an advocate?
No, I don't have any audi of my understanding as an advocate. You and I have agreed before that audi alteram partem, A is not a disciplinary step. It may or may not precede a disciplinary action. It's an opportunity for you to explain, failing which there may be disciplinary consequences. That audi, that's the audi I'm talking about. Okay. Now I'm saying
the good audi.
Yeah, well, the audi alteram partem. The one that we discussed, yeah. Now I'm saying between that audi and an accusation from your boss of malicious compliance, which one do you think would instill more fear in if you are on the receiving end?
This doesn't instill fear. Oh. This is a fact. It doesn't instill fear at all. I can point out that you've given me a report on the 14th, so that I can quality assure the report, and then I can submit or return to you. And it's needed by the public protector on the 14th of August, and public protector has to go and discuss this in a meeting on the 14th of. So you can see the malicious compliance that is there. It's stated. I don't just mention and just throw it. So the Audi, the good Audi, it's an Audi where if you ask me, I ask an employee to submit a report, they don't submit because they say, I had a misfortune at home, an accident, and this and this and this and this. And I accept and say, okay, I understand. Can you submit then this thing on Wednesday? So that's a good Audi. Yes.
Now, malicious compliance, you'd agree that's a serious, it's a dismissible offense, correct?
No, it's not, because you still have to go through all those steps
No, madam.
No,
yes,
it's
even
not.
Even if you stab someone, you still have to go through the steps. All I'm saying is that is
no, it's not.
So at this level, you can just fail to comply or write ABC.
If you fail to comply, I will send you a letter and say you have complied, but maliciously. Why have you done so? And then you explain to me. And that process, progressive discipline, it starts. So it's not a serious offense, a dismissible offense. No.
Really? Okay.
In this context, it is not.
Okay. So, and here you are not saying maybe you are making a finding. This is malicious compliance, correct?
I've given you a story. I say, this report you submitted on the 14th to me, and I have to go through this report, and I have to quality assure this report on the 14th, and I have to give it to Pile Protector on the 14th, and Pile Protector has to, she's going to have a meeting on the 14th. So if you look at these things, all of them, you can see that, okay, I've given you the report that you wanted for the meeting of the 14th. I've given you, you can't complain. So that to me, it's malicious because obviously if you didn't submit it on the 14th, you submit it on the, then that is, that is a transgression because you didn't perform at all.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, I promise you this is the last time I'm trying to ask you this. I'm saying therefore your evidence is that somebody, I hear your story and then you say, at the end of it, you say, this is a transgression. This is malicious compliance. Your evidence is therefore is that is better than someone who says, you gave me this thing on the 14th. I'm giving you an opportunity to explain to me why that is so. And it might be that maybe they had a bereavement or whatever. You are saying on those two things, one that says, here's a finding, this is a transgression, this is malicious compliance. That you're saying is better than the example of saying, if you had said, for example, dear Mr. Ndo, I'm giving you an Audi letter, please explain to me why this report was not given to me 5 days before. Of those two things, you are saying this one is the least fearsome one, the one where there's a conclusion.
I've explained, advocate, over and over and over again, that this is the background which led to that conclusion. Okay. So I don't know what to say from here.
No, I'm not asking you about background, madam. I'm saying accepting that background, accepting that it was a bad thing to do, accepting that it was all unacceptable. That's not what I'm asking you about. I'm saying in comparison, you are a manager of this person. You have two options. One of them is to say to them, I'm making a determination that this is malicious compliance. The other option is to say, please give me a reason why you gave it to me late. Your evidence is that the one that we should fear the most is the one that says, please give me an explanation. That's all I'm saying. I don't know which part you don't understand. I'm not debating how you came to that conclusion. We accept that conclusion, but I'm simply comparing the degree of fearsomeness of the two options I've presented to you. But if you don't understand, it's fine. We'll start there next time. Chairperson, yeah, I don't think I can
I've already answered the question, Advocate.
Yes.
And I think I need the chairperson's protection here. You're comparing apples and doors, and they will not be the same.
So, okay, then I have to ask you the next question. I don't know what you mean by that. I'm saying to you, I don't know which part you don't understand of this. I'm saying to you, when somebody does something wrong, say they come and, break a window in your office, okay, which could be a transgression, then you can either say to them, this is a transgression and this is what will follow that transgression. Or you can say, please give me an explanation why you came to break my window and so on. I'm saying your evidence is that the first option of jumping to a conclusion, a serious conclusion, and that you're making a serious accusation by your boss, you are saying is preferable to the other one of that same boss saying, please give me an explanation. That's what you're saying, really. I don't know where the apples come in. But anyway, it's fine. You don't have to answer. Chairperson will start there in the next session.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Advocate Mpofu, and thank you, Ms. Nthoriseng Motsitsi. The time now is 21 minutes plus 5. We pause there. We will resume tomorrow, Saturday at 9 a.m. And continue with the cross-examination. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Chairperson, sorry, before you adjourn, just from, anyway, I'll have discussions with Advocate Bauer offline about, the rest of the program. But I just want to say that, yeah, if this is the rate at which we're going to deal with questions here, I can see us not even finishing tomorrow. But I'll try, I don't know, I'm going to try and find a different way of putting the questions or put leading questions here. But even that didn't seem to assist here. I'm just saying that with the amount of ground we have to cover, at this kind of rate, it's going to be a challenge, Chairperson. I might even need your assistance. Thank you.
Thank you. Advocate Bauer, before I close.
Chair, am I correct that tomorrow's proceedings are entirely online?
Yes, tomorrow, those who are normally at M46 will also be virtual, which includes the chair for tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay,
thank you.
We'll be at the public projector's office tomorrow. Thank you.
The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.